You might think to yourself, what is the worst decision I've ever made after reading the title in this video, on this video? And this is a question I've been contemplating for a little bit now, because I don't actually know. I don't actually know what is the worst decision I've ever taken, worst thing that has ever happened to me, I guess. It's not that bad. Now, I could give a few examples that are like very surface level, and yesterday I talked a little bit about, in yesterday's video that I post videos every single day. In yesterday's video, I talked about what is the best decision I've ever made. And so today I wanted to go over what is the worst decision I've ever made, but there was only like a few surface level decisions that I could have talked about in this video. And so instead, what I want to talk about is the mindset shift that occurred inside of me that has made me into the man I am today, that does not really believe in making bad decisions anymore. Now, what do I mean by this? What I mean is that this is not actually anything that I regret for my entire life so far. In my whole 23, I guess almost 24 years of life so far, it's not anything actually that I regret. Because regretting something is completely and utterly pointless. Why is it pointless to regret things? You regret things because you cannot change the past. And since you cannot change the past, you lament on your own stupid actions or decisions that you've taken. Now, I think this is very stupid. And you might think to yourself, oh, that's very presumptuous of you, Basil. Why do you think that? Let me tell you. Well, the one thing I've noticed in all my years of life so far has been regretting is actually completely useless. Regretting is actually really, really, really stupid. Now, why is it stupid? You can't change the past. Why can't you change the past? Well, because it's not a thing, okay? So you don't even need to ask why a bunch of times in order to find the answer to this question. And so the other question that you might think to yourself in that case is, what can I focus on instead? Because regretting is just pouring down. It's kind of like you've got 2 cups of water, and you could either decide to drink 1 cup and then chuck the other one out the drain, or down the drain, or drink both cups and then feel much more energetic and hydrated. Why would you chuck both cups in the drain, down the drain, when you're thirsty? Like, it doesn't make any sense. When you've got things to do, you've got time to spend, you've got energy to exert, why would you waste that on regretting something you cannot change, you cannot do anything about? It's kind of like screaming into the void for no reason. If you've ever been to space, which I doubt you have, when you scream outside in space, it doesn't make any noise. It's the same thing. Nothing is really happening in terms of sounds outside in space. It's mostly light, if there is any, or physicality, like slash objects, whatever. Physical objects. So, you don't want to be the guy just screaming into the void, because that's very, very counterproductive. Now, I wanted to make this video to talk about what to do instead of spending energy and time on regretting, but now that I actually think about it, there's actually something a bit more important and interesting to talk about, to stimulate your guys' brains so that you start thinking for yourself a bit more. And if that's not something you're interested in, or that's not something you really want, then I urge you to leave this video and don't really come back, because on this channel I help you guys think for yourselves and really put things into perspective as to what you can do, think for yourself, improve your own life, and understand the game and how to play it effectively. So, if regretting is useless, what should you spend your time on? What should you spend your energy on? Well, personally, I've found that picking a target, picking a goal, picking something that you can take action on, it's kind of like, when you actually think about it, most emotions are just information. So if you go too deep into that, you're not going to get very productive with your actions, which is not very useful. So what should you do? I think everybody should take some time to really think for themselves, what are the actions I can take right now that would benefit not only my life, me as an individual, but also the people around me? Because if I become more skilled at a certain craft, then in that case I can provide that service slash product slash value to somebody else, and in exchange they'll give me something I want, aka might be in the form of money, might be in the form of a favor, might be in the form of another service, or like just an introduction to somebody else. Anything that helps you become more productive in today's world. Because the problem is, at its root cause, like at root foundational level, the world of today is quite messed up. But instead of theorizing on a bunch of stuff and thinking like, how can you make the world of today better, you need to think for yourself first, how can I become the best version of myself in order to have a positive impact on the world and on the people around me? Like, I think that's what matters the most, and not enough people ask themselves this question. I talk to a lot of people that are very different, I'd say, very, very different. One of them might tell me, hey, we really need to make the world better because capitalism is really just shit, and we need to stop exerting our resources or whatever, and we need to save as many resources as we can, and we need to, instead of spending more and using more, we need to control everything. And somebody else might say, hey, I just want to work hard and provide for my family. Somebody else might say, hey, I want to just become so rich that I don't really care about what anybody else has to say. And it's quite interesting, right? If you get a lot of different people with a lot of different perspectives, and then you combine those perspectives into yours, and you're like, okay, which one makes the most sense as to fitting, what fits the best with who I am? This is kind of where I am at the moment. Like, I don't regret anything, so I focus all of my time on finding what is the most productive thing that I can do, not only today, but also when I take a look at the timeline of events that I want my life to be on. And I'm like, okay, so if I want to make a certain amount of money, I want to make a certain amount of value, I want to provide a certain amount of value to other people. In that case, I need to be the kind of skilled individual that people depend on. Otherwise, what is the point? Now, I could go on this yap about what is the meaning of life and whatever the fuck, okay? That's not what we're going to talk about today, even though I could say you decide the meaning of your own life for yourself. So I've decided that the meaning of my life is to become such a beacon of light and positivity in my own life, providing so much value that I get rewarded by opportunities, money, people, relationships, things that are either given to me, offered, or in exchange for my value that I can provide. So that way I can provide a higher level of value to the people around me. If there are people I want to provide for, if there are people that I want to provide for, I want to take care of them. I want to take care of my parents. I want to take care of my future kids. I want to take care of my wife, future wife. And I want to do a lot of things, okay? And so in this life, you need to really think for yourself. Are you just gonna sit there and wallow in your own regret and do fucking nothing and just self-destroy yourself, like self-destroy your own ability to do things, not create anything, waste your time, take drugs, go down the rabbit hole of depression, become a useless individual? Or are you going to use what you've been given to the best of your ability in order to succeed somehow or die trying? I was walking down the street yesterday and there was this guy in, in the city here. There's a bunch of fundraisers that have a chat with people in the street, and they're asking like, hey, would you be down to pay like $1 or $5 for this membership to donate to charity or whatever. And one of them, I keep having a chat and keep bumping into him every day. And I had a chat with him and he said, do you believe that everything happens for a reason? And I said, you know what? Yes and no. And I went into detail just to explain to him really quick what I thought about this, which is everything does happen for a reason, because that's called causality and cause and effect. If you do something, something is going to happen. So if you take that into account, then in that case, you can do things that are going to result in other things. So at the end of the day, you've got a set of cards in your hand that you can play. Some cards you cannot play, that you're born with and you can't get rid of. Some cards you can play but they don't have a very big impact. Some cards you can play but you don't even know that you have them in your hand. Some cards are like invisible, right? Some cards are visible, some aren't, some can't be discarded, some can be discarded, and you need to understand how to use that hand as efficiently as you can with your time and effort and energy at your disposal. So, like, you're born in a certain society, right? You can't change your education, you can't change your childhood, you can't change your childhood. I can't change the past, can't change the parents I have, can't change the family, can't change anything around those things. Can't change how society's been built, can't change the past of history, can't change a bunch of stuff. Can't change the fact that I need to eat food. Can't change the fact that I need to drink water, okay? Those are like the basic things. Other things, though, is what can you do with your time? Okay, well, I can use my time to play Lego. Or I can use my time to play video games on my computer. Or I can spend my time working a job to get paid in order to use that money in order to buy a better laptop, in order to become better at providing value with that laptop. And from there, I can then learn a high income skill. And then with that high income skill, I can then provide value to others, which they then give me a bunch of more money in return. And then I can do more things with that money. I can buy myself a car, I can buy myself a house, etc., etc. This is what I mean. Cause and effect, or one of the basic rules of human society, of human reality, you could say. So you truly need to think for yourself. Are you just going to sit there and regret and wallow in your own sorrow? Or are you going to stand up for yourself and do something about it? If you've had a bad relationship and you feel depressed because you feel like nobody loves you, maybe a parent or a sibling or a family member died recently and you feel really shit about that. Or maybe you got fired from your job because somebody took your position. Or maybe the workplace you go to got fucking bombed. Could happen. You never know. So you really have to think for yourself, what can I do with what I have right now? I have cards on the table, and I suggest you do this exercise for yourself, just so that you know what I'm talking about. Is you take a piece of paper and a pen, and you write down on that piece of paper who are the people you know, what are the things you do, what are the things you own, what are the things you have to do, what are the things in your life, the different areas. What kind of skills do you have? What kind of things do you know? What kind of information do you have access to? What kind of diplomas do you have? What kind of, capabilities do you have? Are you physically strong? Are you tall? How old are you? How much time do you have throughout the day? What kind of obligations do you have? Just list out as many things that you have at your disposal, that you have to do, that you have at your disposal, or that you can use. And then you will find out very quickly what you can do with this. If you don't really know, you can always just chuck everything into ChatGPT. This is what I do sometimes. I take pictures of my notes and I chuck them into ChatGPT and I said, hey, can you read my handwriting? And then it says yes or no. If it says yes, then I say, okay, by taking into account what I've written down here, I want you to help me put together a strategy in order to achieve X goal. What can I do with what I have, plus all the constraints? And how could I do that on a day-to-day basis, keeping in mind that I have X amount of time at my disposal, I have Y amount of things that I need to do, obligations that I don't have a choice of, and I have Z fucking things that I can use. And ChatGPT or any kind of fucking AI, Claude, Grok, whatever the fuck, okay? Just use whatever you have. And you can use that at your disposal and ask this question. Or you can also ask another human, which probably is going to give you a much more interesting answer. And you'll come to some interesting conclusions, right? Some people might not know how to respond. Some AIs might give you a shit response. Some might give you an interesting response. At the end of the day, you are the only person responsible for what happens to you. This is what I told the fundraiser when I was having a chat with him. You're the only person. If something happens to your life, to you, it's your fault. You could have done something better. You could have done something to prevent that. You could have done something differently. Everything that happens to you, you have the control over that. Not only to react to it emotionally or non-emotionally, and to also react in a positive way as to take action. If a family member dies, are you gonna just sit there and regret and like despair and get depressed and sad and mope around for like days on end? Or are you gonna use that time and energy and emotion to do something about it? To say, okay, this person, I really valued them, they died, it sucks. But what would they have wanted me to do instead of just being sad? What can I do to make this person proud of me, even in the afterlife, if there is one? If they're looking down upon me and they're like, I hope this guy doesn't fucking mope around and be sad for the rest of his fucking life just because I died. Like, that would be fucking stupid. That's what I'm talking about. And with that said, I'll leave you with this. Exercise. List out everything you have to do. List out everything you have at your disposal. Make a list and come up with what you can do in order to improve your life. Not only, and think for yourself, how can I use this? How can I use what I have and what I know and what I know how to do to my disposal in order to achieve better things. Can I go to the gym? Can I get better at going to the gym? Can I get better at exercising at the gym? Can I get better at eating good food for my training at the gym? Ask yourself these questions, and most of the time, you'll find the answers are quite interesting. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. It's a beautiful day, so it's going to be time to get back to work. I will see you in the next video tomorrow, as I post every single day. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.